everybody to another episode of Mofutbol podcast, where we connect the game from the grassroots all the way to the pros and spotlight stories that the big media usually overlook. And today we're heading from Round Rock, Texas, all the way to Naples, Italy. My guest, Cameron Brooks, American
Hi.
defenders in Napoli families. And she's gone from the youth soccer in Texas to Texas Longhorn and then playing professional in Italy, carrying the black girl power, strong work ethic, and much more. So let's get to it. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. I'm loving my life. I'm loving my situation, and I'm just living everything as best as I possibly can. I'm having a great time here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, so just before we get to your story and others, so how is like in Italy, right? So you're going from Texas and then went a little bit of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then all the way to Italy. So how has that been so far for you?
Moving to Italy has been amazing. Honestly, I don't really know how else to put it. I was very open to joining a new community, understanding that I was going to probably have some type of rocky road along the way. But honestly, moving to Italy and especially Naples, because I'm in the South, the community is so amazing, so loving, so generous, so kind. So when I got here, I was able to quickly make a lot of friends in the neighborhood, and they've treated me like family ever since. So I've been loving my move. I've been loving the stay in Italy, and it's just been such an incredible experience.
Excellent. So, and moving from there, so was when you tell people that you're from Round Rock, Texas, how is that experience? And is there anyone that kind of like, oh, we know what or where is Texas in the U.S.?
No, unless you've driven through Texas and have family or are from Texas, you'll know what Round Rock is. But Round Rock is essentially a small little city outside of Austin. So it's 30 minutes away. And usually when people ask me where I'm from, I just say Austin, Texas.
Yes, sounds familiar. I'm in Chesterfield, but when somebody asks outside of the city, always say St. Louis. So totally
Yes.
get that part. So yes, so early on in your soccer career, can you tell us a little bit on how soccer was introduced to you, and a little bit of how that connections, because usually you have other sports in the U.S. to kind of attract you early.
Yes. Well, actually, was introduced to the sport when I was 5 years old. My older cousin and my uncle had came down from New York to visit, and my uncle, who is married to my actual relative, my actual aunt, he's from Jamaica. My mom and my aunt, they're from Grenada. So that we all have that very much Caribbean blood running through us, but they were the ones that initially introduced me to the sport. My older cousin at the time came down to visit. He was preparing for his upcoming college season. So he was in the backyard playing around. And I was looking out the window and I'm like, okay, what are you guys doing? I want to know. I've never seen this before. So of course I can't sit still. I go out there, I start bothering them, and the ball rolls to me and they're like, okay, just kick it back. I was like, okay. So I gave them my best toe poke ever. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're actually you could be good at this. You should ask your dad to put you in soccer. It took me 2 years to convince my dad to put me in soccer because in Texas it wasn't big. And at the time, I was born in 2000. So in the early 2000s, soccer was more of a boy sport. My dad was not going to put me in soccer. He's never heard of a female soccer player before. So he said, like, no, I'm not going to spend $75 for you to go out there and tell me that it's hot and waste my money. So I'm just not putting you in soccer. It took him a good 2 years to be like, okay, she really wants to do this. Let's put her in. So ever since then, I was able to find a good soccer community and found a lot of amazing coaches that have helped me along the way. And then that's how I kind of got my career started.
Excellent. So yes, so on this show we love to promote grassroots soccer, and I just so a quick shout out on your youth team that kind of helped mold who you are now?
Yes, I can't remember the first two teams that I did play for, they were just community teams,
Okay.
so I'm sure it's just like Round Rock community soccer. I was playing for the Ladybugs, and it was a little maybe 3v3, 6v8 or 6v6 team, and then I went to another team called the Rockettes, but again, it was my community parent that was running the soccer team because the older boy of the family was playing soccer. So he put the younger girl in soccer, started a team. I was her age. I was around the community playing, and we ended up doing a lot of 3v3 tournaments. So there was this big tournament in Disney that we would go to every year. And that was so much fun. That was such a highlight of my life. We would go to Orlando, Florida every single year. And then after that, I was playing at Lone Star Soccer Club. That was the first club. I would say that's technically grassroots, and that's where I started actually taking the sport seriously.
Excellent. So it sounds like the motivation for players just in general is maybe a few trip to Florida and to Disney. So it looks like that motivation kind of helped.
Yeah, I did. It was just a fun little tournament. However, I was very blessed to be able to grow up in a community where my parents had the extra funds to send us to Disney World,
Yes.
and we made a trip out of it, but it was amazing. It was the best time of my life. So I was so grateful.
Excellent. So yes. So do you have other siblings that also play the sport, or were you like the
Yes, I had.
groundbreaker?
Well, no, my dad says that this isn't how it went, but I'm pretty sure my brother was put into soccer before me.
Okay.
And then I was at a soccer game. I can remember this very vividly. I was at a soccer game, and I'm like, he's doing it wrong. He doesn't know what he's doing. I was like, okay, like he finally was like, okay, fine, go play. So my baby brother, I have two younger brothers. The middle one was playing soccer. He eventually became a basketball player. And then my youngest baby brother, he plays football at Cal Poly. I think he is entering a transfer portal to go to Montana, but he is also a collegiate athlete as well.
So it looks like a whole bunch of athletes in
Yes.
that family. So yeah, so what would you say? Knowing that now you have a very competitive family, so did that also drive your drive to be a little bit more competitive and see
Oh
where you are?
yes,
And
a
how
hundred
was that
percent.
dynamic?
It's sorry. What was the last thing you said?
How was that dynamic with having all of these competitive um, children?
It was good because I was setting the tone.
Okay.
So I made sure that whatever I was doing, not for the middle brother, but me and my baby brother are very close when it comes to being an athlete and being the best that we could. And so I think my brother had a very good understanding of what it was to look at an athlete who's enjoying their sport and looking at an athlete who is actually trying to strive and achieve everything they can within the sport. And with that being said, I would be dragging my brother with me to the soccer field to do my soccer conditioning. We would be in the backyard running around our neighborhood 3 miles. I would make him
Ooh.
come with me, and if I'm going to the weight room or if I'm going to this private trainer, my baby brother was coming with me. So I think that it wasn't competitive. Our family wasn't competitive within the sport. It was me wanting to set the tone and set the level and show that if my brother continues to follow in my footsteps, he has so many opportunities that could be laid out in front of him as long as he works hard and does what he needs to do on and off the field as an athlete and a student, of course. So it was more of a push for me to be as best as I can, just so I can see my baby brother be the best athlete that he could be.
Perfect. So, like the great example usually leads to it. So, and you have a great point to where, since I also coach, and I always love to say when it comes to a soccer field, sometimes soccer's can also be leaders on the field and off the pitch. So, what would you say that what soccer has given you at this moment that kind of helped you become the person you are now off the
I
field?
think it's given me everything. However, I am a very competitive person. I am someone that wants to strive to be the best that I can be. And it just so happened that the way that I do so is through soccer, is being on the field and competing, and perfecting everything that I can to be a good player. So that was the outlet that it comes through for me. But that's also my goal. And because I fell in love with the game and I have a passion for the game and I want to see myself get to amazing places, that this game can take me, that is how I've been shaped by the game in and of itself.
So yes, so before I'm leading to a little bit more, club and high school. So was there a moment before that time that's like, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. I should continue for. Was there a moment that kind of defined it?
Yes, I got invited to my first youth national team when I was 13. So I went to the U14s. Well, okay, well, actually, back in the day, I don't know how it is now, but we had a very, very good laid out structure, I feel like, when it comes to club soccer. So if you were on a club soccer team, you had eyes on you at every turn. And for me specifically, I was able to get invited to an ID2 camp. So coaches would be looking for the best players within the regions of America, and I was able to go to an ID2 camp. I think it was in Arizona, and they would take the best players from the south-ish side of America, along with California and all of the states on this side. And then after that, I was able to get invited to monthly camps in Texas. So they would take the best 60 players, and they would always have like a top drawer soccer was very big. I don't know if it's still a thing, but they would rank the players in Texas, and I was always able to get invited to those IDPs as well. So they would find the best players in Texas. I would be invited to that camp. But that was when there was some times where I wasn't getting invited, and I was like, well, why am I not getting invited? They found I was either playing center back or outside back at the time. And that was when I was realizing that, okay, there are other girls that are better than me. I was never good technically when I was young, let me say that. I think I had a very big advantage because I was more athletic than the girls, which is why I was getting invited to these camps. But then when I realized that I'm not getting invited to them because of my technical ability, because I didn't have a right foot at the time, and I just wasn't as pronounced as a soccer player as these other girls when we were 11 and 12. They were taking it so serious back then. But that was the first time I was like, okay, yeah, it wasn't that this is when I realized I was good. It was when the real competitor me came out, and I was like, there's no way that I have one of my friends on this team getting invited and I'm not going when I should be going every month. So that was the first time. And then I then got invited to a youth national team camp when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand or knew how big of a thing this was. Again, I didn't have my dad who knew how soccer worked. I just knew that there might have been 2 or 3 other girls that would be getting this opportunity. They might have been older than me, but we were a part of the club, so we kind of understood that it was a big deal, but I didn't understand how big of a deal this was at the time. I was just like, I'm good, and but I didn't realize that I'm literally one of the top 60 players in America at this point in time when I was 14, 16, and 18. And it didn't register to me because I'm just like, I get to go play soccer. So when I got to those national team camps, of course, I didn't get invited back. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I'm not in the way that I'm crying, sobbing. Because again, I did not know the significance of these camps at all whatsoever. But it was I want to get back there. I want to be at the top. I want to be in the top with these other players that get called back every single month or every 3 months to go to these camps. So that was when I really realized, okay, you're good and you can go to college to do this. And it's getting to the point where, you got to dial it in. You got to drop the sports that, other sports that I was playing, which was really basketball, which I didn't like that much anyways. I was fouling out every game. So I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm going to get focused because I want to get to these dang national team camps.
Yep.
So that's what happened.
That's great motivation, right? And
Yeah.
I think probably you mentioned just the top 60 in the US, but you have to be almost more in the world, right? Because a lot of these girls that get called an ID camp also sometimes are in other part of the world that get invited. So you were more than just 60 in the country. You were pretty much anyone discovered in the world with a US passport at that age.
Yeah, yes, but
yes,
it was what it was,
Well, and it is one of those good points, I guess, that kind of help you pivot and determine which kind of player you want to be. So,
yes.
Athleticism, you have to be born with it. It cannot be trained. So you already had a leg ahead of almost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes. So, and then going up to that process, so did you get a chance to play high school soccer? Could you give it like a quick shout out and kind of tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I went to Cedar Ridge High School, and I got to play 2 full years before the development academy became a thing, which meant they said you cannot play high school soccer and do club soccer because at this point the commitment was way too big for a player to be doing both. However, I only know one person that did DA and went to go back to school to play basketball, volleyball, and run track, which meant she was a full-time high school athlete, as well as making every single practice for DA. And she was my teammate. Her name was Brianna Hunter. You want to talk about a phenomenal athlete? It was her. She was amazing. But at that time, after my sophomore year, I couldn't play high school soccer anymore, and I didn't want to anyways because I really did want to be focused. And at this point, I'm 16. I'm getting called into youth national team camps still at 16. So I was very much so focused on what I needed to do because I just was very determined on being the best that I can be, which meant showing up at every single DA practice. And some weeks we would have 4 practices a night. And for me in Round Rock, the practices would be an hour away. The games would be, we're traveling from Houston to Dallas. And again, all this goes to show that I was growing up in such a good community. And I was so blessed to be able to have a parent that was able to take me to all of these things because he was just as invested as I was. He saw that I was invested, so he didn't mind taking the time. But I know it's gotten more difficult and a little bit harder, especially with how it is nowadays. It's just really hard. And I know grassroots soccer is really struggling, especially in Austin, Texas. So, but that was that for me. Sorry, I forgot the question.
No, you're good. And I guess let's give a shout out, I guess, to your parents that with all of that driving that you just mentioned, the back and forth. What would you say is that support, how important it is for student athletes and, having that great foundation to be to where you are now?
For me, it meant the world to me that my dad was there every single game. He didn't miss a game for nothing. And honestly, athletes are shown and taught consistency. And just because my dad was showing up to every single game, making sure that I was getting to every single practice was the best thing that he could have done for me because that was where my foundation came from, what it meant to work hard, to sacrifice, to be committed and to be consistent with what you're doing. I was seeing it from my dad with me. So I couldn't have learned that through anything else when it wasn't first shown to me by a parent showing up for me every single time.
So is there any funny stories with all of your traveling where, you maybe had a great game or a bad game and where maybe your dad was more excited, more mad than you? Was there one of those moments that That's
There
the
was for sure probably a bunch of times where
yeah.
he would just cuss me out, man. Maybe I was playing lazy. I don't know. But there were also a really good story was that when we were doing the soccer with Lone Star Soccer Club, we had a community, man. Girls were invested, parents were invested. So when it came to us having to go to these bigger tournaments, oh, we would get party buses, and we would have two teams on the bus. It would be the 99s, so it would be a whole year above us, the 2000s, that whole team, which is now 40 girls and their parents. And we're taking party buses to these events. And so, the parents are having a blast. It went into so much more than just sacrificing for your kids, because the parents, they had the time of their lives. This is when they were also having such a great community. And even talking to my dad when he would go to my baby brother's basketball games or my baby brother's football games, it was not the same. He was not having fun, which is probably why, he had all of his fun with me, and he had made such great friends and relationships and memories when it was with me, because the girls and the community of soccer was just amazing. It was just a fun time for everybody.
All right, I like to hear that because especially in the U.S., you hear a lot of the bad stories that comes with parents, soccer parents. So it's good to hear some of those stories where you have if it's 40 plus girls, so that means that's 40, 80 parents around,
Yeah.
and so it's good to hear that there's still those foundations, and it's not just
Yes.
bad parents, bad soccer parents that we
No.
hear all the time. So I give shout out to all the Round Rock's parents. You guys are probably
Yes.
setting the example properly. So yes. So was there any stories that you know that you remember about high school soccer that kind of helped or that helped you to the next level of soccer?
Yeah, of course. I was able to play varsity soccer my freshman year, which is a big feat within itself. And then by my sophomore year, I was already the captain. So can you
Wow. Okay.
imagine being that's just amazing. And so of course that gave me more it out or I guess it built my character of who I wanted to be. And I knew that I was a leader when I was young, but for me to be able to have that a leadership experience, especially in high school, that's a little point that I make on my resume. I wrote that down on my resume to apply for jobs. We can get into that
Okay.
later, but of course, everything that I've done in high school still translates to the next parts of my life. I know it wasn't something that was forgotten for sure. And then in high school, I was also playing as a midfielder for my freshman and sophomore year because I was more at that point. Now I was one of the more technically advanced players. So to come from a place where I'm getting kicked out of camps because I'm not technical enough, but then to be able to have experience at being a defensive mid and an attacking mid and having fun with the game, that is still something that I want to experience because we were making the playoffs as a freshman and sophomore, and I was able to play these positions at a good level. It's not the position I was playing in club, but it was something different. So I really do cherish that opportunity that I got in high school because when would I ever play center mid again? That was so much fun. That was really fun. And then when I did stop playing for after my 2 years, I would still go and train with the boys' high school team because now junior year I had an off period. I graduated early from high school to go to college because I committed to the University of Texas in the 9th grade before they had, the standards of the girls can't commit. Everybody has to commit by 11th grade now. We didn't have that. You can commit whenever you're ready. Whenever the colleges will put down a scholarship for you, which was why a big reason why I committed to the University of Texas because they were giving me a full ride. And at the time, they were not other schools like North Carolina, Florida State, the top 10 schools would not give freshmen full rides. You had to go in on a 60, 70, 80%. And every year they would decide if they're going to take some of your scholarship away or give you a full ride. So I had two other baby brothers to think about, and I needed a full ride. So I had to get one of the first ones that came my way to make sure that I was set, you know? So after that, in my junior year and my senior year, I would go out and train with the boys instead, because I grew up playing with all of those boys. As much as I was, doing everything else, I think I got really serious because in the summers, my dad would drop me off to training, and I would stay there all day because there was a training session in the morning, but then he couldn't come from work back and forth to drop me off in the training session in the middle of the day and to drop me off for the training session at the night. So me and my best friend, her name is Sade. She now also plays over here overseas, but she had an older brother. And the older brother's 2-3 years older than us. So we were always hanging out with the boys. Right. So the boys had training in the morning. We're going to go train with the boys. And the boys wanted to stay all day. Well, we're going to stay all day with the boys and be at the facility and get our middle of the day training in, and then get our night session in at 9 p.m. And that's when my dad was coming to pick me up. But the majority of the time I'm training with boys all of the time that I was growing up.
Nice. So you pretty much turned, something where it could have been a struggle with time with parents, and you turn it so pretty much the whole 10,000 hours. You guys sounds like over the summer.
Oh yeah,
you guys completed those pretty much.
Yep.
Nice.
We got those 10,000 hours in for sure over the
so pretty much just the summer and the whole year was just extra.
Yep.
And we do hear a lot of the big time athletes, right, that always put the extra work, the extra time. With that time that you just mentioned, having to play with the boys and staying there extra time, what would you say is like one of the biggest thing or improvement you've seen in yourself when you first started those 3 sessions of workout and play with the boys as well?
Well, first, let me say it wasn't like, oh, you have to do this. Again, I think that when I was growing up, I grew up in a very grassroots community when it came to soccer. There was about 5 trainers that had their own facilities throughout Austin that you can just go and play in. And one of them, shout out David Den, he was a very big one because he was very, very technical. But my dad was closer friends with another trainer that I had. His name was Gifton, and he would have his own, very large spaces, and we would just come in and play. It's the same guy. He would have his own grassroots soccer teams for boys, send them over to London because Gifton was from London, and he was really making connections for people to be able to go out and find a way to play the game outside of the U.S. So that was when it wasn't, oh, I have to get 3 trainings in a day. It was, this is what we are all shooting for. These guys want to go to London. These guys want to experience playing overseas. And me and little Sade, we just want to play. Like, we just want to be good. And me and Sade were the ones getting invited to ID2 camps, national team camps. So at this point, it's like, okay, well, now we got to sit here, and we need to train.
Right.
And on top of that, it was a World Cup summer, one of them. So, all we had to do was go sit there, train in the morning. The boys had cars by this time, so they'll just go get us food, and then we sit there the whole day in front of the TVs watching soccer, watching all the soccer games. Halfway through the day, we go out, train again. We wait until 7 p.m. and train until 9, so that was just what we were doing.
So it sounds like your cheat code was being in a small community that was very competitive and had the people and the community to build around you guys to give you everything that you've had available to reach your top level. So less distractions and smaller towns. So yes, sounds like that has certainly worked for a lot of you.
Yes, it did.
Yes. And then you mentioned committing to Texas freshman year?
Yes.
So how was that, first commuting, played those first 2 years, which then led you to playing college soccer. How was that transition and then that experience at Texas?
Well, because I was committed so early, I didn't know I wanted to graduate high school early, but I just kind of was like, can I do this at junior year? And I would talk to my counselor. She's like, yeah, you just have to do, A, B, C. I probably had to take a summer class. I got it done, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of here, bye, because I didn't really have to work too hard on my SAT because I was already committed and already had a full ride. And Texas has done they are an amazing school, and they do what they need to do for their student athletes, for sure.
We've seen
So,
that.
yeah, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going early. A lot of people didn't understand why I was going early. I was like, okay, honestly, I don't understand either. All I know is I want to play soccer. Yeah. So I went early, and it wasn't scary for me. I just knew what I wanted to do, and I was like, this is probably going to give me the best opportunity that I can to come in early, come in for the spring section. Also, thank God my dad was able to take on. I still had to do student loans because that first spring wasn't under contract, but my dad was still able to help me with my student loans for that first little part of me going in early, my first 3 or 4 months of school. And I think they were able to provide housing and all that good stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm set. I went in there, set the tone. I was able to get invited to the last national team camp, which is a U18 camp, which is a pretty, big thing as well.
Oh, yes.
And after that, I was just kind of getting in a rhythm because I knew I was going to be here for the next 4 years. I knew it was going to be hard, and I wanted any leg up that I could get. And that was one of them.
Excellent. And so, how was that college experience, play Texas? Anyone that knows anything about just school, but sports in general, if you say Texas, we all know Longhorns. So how was that experience? Maybe one or two things that you will carry on to where you are now.
It was amazing because I think that was the only time that I was going to be friends with and in rooms with Olympic athletes, NBA players, NFL players, all of the top collegiate athletes, the best swimmers, the best divers around the world. We all got to be in a small bubble in a small community, and that was another thing. I mean, I don't think a lot of colleges have the community that we did at Texas, but we had our lunchroom called the Tank, and everybody was just so friendly. We wanted to be friends. We didn't care to sit with the volleyball team or the football team, the basketball team. We sat with everybody. Everybody sat with and was included, and we all made friends. So to just be able to be in rooms where you can look to the left, and I'm not going to name names, but I have some of the top football, like NFL players now. I was able to become best friends with them. One of my best friends plays for the Cardinals in Arizona now, and it's just I got to go through 5 years of college with some of the best athletes, and I think that also shaped me. What do you mean that I'm not on the national team or I'm not an Olympic athlete when my teammate Julia Grossa and Emma Regan are getting called into the national team camp? We have Tara Davison, breaking all the records and doing a crazy amount of work in long jump, and then again, NFL, NBA players, like, it just goes to show that when you work hard for one little thing, you can then be put into rooms where other people are achieving so much. So that made me want to continue to achieve so much. I couldn't do that if I didn't see that. Right. And I think that was so special. Maybe the most special thing that I could take away from the university was that I got to see amazing people do amazing things, and I always carry it with me. Why not me as well?
Yeah. Yes. So it sounds like you were in the room with people that have the top of the top that have reached, I guess, the top of their sporting career. So was there one advice or one thing that you've had a discussion with all of these athletes that you keep with you now and carry as a professional?
There's nothing that, again, these are normal people. I think that there wasn't anything that we talked about. There wasn't any special advice that was given or was taken. It was just that I got to see someone normal do something amazing, which meant that this is wasn't just for them. It's for anybody in this room that held themselves to pursue excellence and do what they needed to do at the highest level. And that's what it was. It's just normal people going about their life, but they are amazing and they're diligent and they're disciplined and they are hard workers and gritty. They would do anything to be accomplished. And again, you can't be that for yourself without experiencing it in some way.
So pretty much they were all leading by example. They just showed you versus just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So yes. So what? And we know that coaches have big influence on athletes and others. So how was your experience with your coach at Texas? You guys still keep contact? No. How was that experience with your coach and pretty much?
I think that as people, everybody has their own goals for what they're trying to do in their jobs or respected fields. So I think that because my coach she's Canadian, she brought in a lot of Canadians, and she did exactly what I would envision a young Canadian soccer player would want to do in America. She was able to build a program for other Canadian soccer players that didn't have a lot of resources. She brought them there and sent them back to the Canadian national team, and she did an amazing job at that. Other than that, I think she was able to build a really great community of assistant coaches that had helped me get to where I am today. Oh my gosh, my coach Keely, I think she coaches for a college now in Colorado. We would show up early every training, every morning, because for extra touches, and it would be 30 minutes of extra touches. I was there at every single extra touching drill that she would run. I would go out there, and Keely, she might have given up on me with using my right foot, but I'm so glad that she went out there with me every single morning, and we did drills to work on my right foot because I can use it now. Shout out Coach Keely. Shout out another coach, Coach Lee, who does coach at Lee University. He continued to carry on the extra touches once Coach Keely decided to go to her own college to be a head coach. And I tore my ACL my last year, so Coach Lee would continue to coach me in his own time after me tearing my ACL. He was so supportive. He was a coach that saw me as a player, that wanted to make sure that I was doing good, and that wanted to see me excel and succeed. And those two coaches alone got me through really hard times in college, and I'm just so grateful for them. That was another thing. It's just that, of course, a head coach has a lot to deal with. She has 28 players. But when it comes time for assistant coaches to step up, I think they have one of the most important roles. And I could not be where I am today without those two people.
I like that you mentioned assistant coaches, because usually don't get as much praises as they usually, when we all know that they, just like every leadership group, where the assistant coaches usually have the more impact or touches with players themselves. So great shout out. And you mentioned touring your ACL. So a lot of the soccer players, especially girl soccer players, usually you hear a lot of the ACL tear. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience and how your perseverance kind of helped you get back to who you are now?
Yeah, looking back at it, it just doesn't feel like I actually went through that. Like, I can remember that happened, but I don't know, maybe because I was pushing myself so hard. And now it's maybe like 3 years since this happened now, but it just felt like a dream. I think maybe now it's because I'm doing something that I genuinely could not believe I could do for 9 months of my life. And now that I'm here and I'm over the hump, it's like, that was just a dream. It didn't really happen. It happened. Oh, I was going through it. But I tore my ACL. I was in college for 5 years because of COVID, so I got an extra COVID year. So basically say 6, guys, because I went early. I got my extra year, and I tore my ACL in the last 2 months of my 5th year. So I was doing really good, especially on the draft boards for the NWSL. Like, I had a possibility, if I was able to finish out the season, to be potentially drafted, because even at the end of the season, not playing the last, what I would say 6 games, which are the most important, the NCAA tournament, I was still on the draft board at 60. So we're coming back to that magic number of 60, I guess. But I was still up there, and that felt really good. But it was that point where I was like, I know I want to be a professional soccer player, because again, I don't know, for all this time in my life, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go be a professional soccer player. It's not that serious. But when I had that injury, and I had to choose between going to law school, because I took my LSAT to prepare, I was like, no, I'm not going. I cannot go to law school, guy. I'm not doing this. My mom was really pushing, and I was like, no, I'm gonna get to this ACL rehab. Actually, there was no plan B. All I knew is that I was getting to the ACL rehab, and I was becoming a professional soccer player. All of my eggs were in one basket. I'm glad they were, and because I'm where I want to be now. So again, after I tore my ACL, I was able to get surgery. But after that, my scholarship was done. I didn't have anything else, so I had to continue to work around 3 to 5 jobs throughout my ACL rehab to be able to afford my rent in Austin and to complete my rehab. And that was hard, but that has been the turning point for me. It shaped me the most, and it also showed me that I am someone outside of soccer. As much as I came back to the sport and I pushed myself to get through this rehab, again, I had to work those jobs. And when I worked the jobs, I worked at Walmart, I waitressed, I refereed volleyball, DoorDash, Uber Eats, walk dogs. And then when I was able to move a little bit with the ball at my feet without my knee hurting, I coached girls and did private trainings. But all of that I went through went to show that I am so much more than a soccer player, because every place that I was going, I was touching somebody. I was impacting them. It wasn't that I was trying. It was just, I'm at this place, my friend, sorry, are we going over time?
Oh, no. Nope.
It's okay.
You're good.
Okay. Yes. My friend, when I was working at Walmart, I was a pharmacist. So I was back there, and one of the girls that along my journey, she was 19. She just had a baby, just got out of high school. And so she also needed a job. She was working at the pharmacy with me. And sadly, a year later, when I was at Fort Lauderdale, she passed away from domestic violence. And she was pregnant with her second baby at that time. And that was so, so hard for me. But even then, I was able to experience somebody else's hardship and walk with them through that. She's trying to get on her feet, trying to afford a house, a car, and a new baby. And to see her get on her feet from where she was amazing. And it was just really crappy to have to hear that at the end of all of her hard work, that was how her life turned out. But that stuck with me. It still sticks with me. I love her. Her name is Allison. And I think that was what really showed me that I am more than just what an athlete is. And I have so much more to give to my whole entire life. But right now, my platform is to give it through soccer. And that was another reason to make a TikTok platform, because I want to see people improve on the mental aspect, and I want to see people reach their goals. And all that to say, I'm giving out information, or I'm sharing my life, because I wish I was able to see that when I was younger, so I could be better than what I was or where I am now. So that all holds very true to me, but that's a big thing. And I am so grateful for the whole ACL journey that I had to go through.
Absolutely, yes. And I think that's the biggest part as well. And I will also cut that part where, the time, I have plenty of time for that as well. But yes, and I think when you mentioned as well, the giving back of it. So that's pretty much the reason why I'm also doing all of these podcasts and other skill. So I've also played enough soccer because I'm from France. And I play at the PhD Academy till I was 17 or so. And then through judo injuries, and I guess not dedicated enough, just like yourself, didn't take me to where I wanted to be. But this platform that I do have now, from grassroots to pros, I just interview players, coaches, staff, pretty much anyone that's involved in the world of soccer, and kind of bridge the gap of experience. I'm fortunate enough that my whole community, I guess, have from executive players that play in MLS, La Liga, Ligue 1, and others. So I'm just using this platform to give yours a voice to everybody else that needs those connections to kind of help grow the sports. Because you were in the small town of Texas, I was in the big city of Paris, and for somehow we were able to connect because I saw your TikTok, and it's just like, hey, she's doing something, giving back to the girls and boys. But I have four
Yes.
girls, so I have so pretty much the dad girl comes into that. So so I love the
Exactly.
part that you mentioned, giving back. That's pretty much
Thank
all it
you.
takes. Because
And I couldn't be here again without someone like you dedicating their time to kids like me. And I appreciate everything that you do. I think that what you're doing is so important. And just to be able to be here and go through this with you is something that, of course, I will hold near and dear to my heart for the
and
rest
the
of my
job is not
career.
over. We still got plenty
No.
of work. And I think you mentioned on that part where the introduction, the Black Girl Power. So I do know myself, moving from France to here, you get a little bit of that soccer culture shock where it's like, I always joke that all of my teams were almost like the United Nation because it was everybody from everywhere in the world. But then when it comes
Yes.
to US soccer, it's like maybe, a spot here, spot there.
Yep.
So what would you say is like one of the things with your TikTok and your platform that you're building? Um, what is your hope or goal to see a little bit more of that diversity?
My whole goal really is, again, it's more than just me and just an athlete. I think that a lot of people need to be educated on what we do. I know that, for instance, I don't take it there, but let's just say people are like, okay, female athletes don't deserve as much as male athletes, which I understand. But if you get to see the life that we live, how we live, the work that we put in, which is the exact same amount as a male athlete, then maybe that's better for other people to be like, okay, well, no, actually, this is a woman that is, playing professional soccer, doing all that she's doing, and this is still, something that female athletes struggle with. On top of that, I want to be able to be there for high school athletes or for kids that don't know what they want to do after playing the sport. I want to be able to show them, to educate them, to help them through any, up and downs, because I also want them to show that I'm human, that the people that you look up to, the athletes that you look up to, they're just like you. We learn the same lessons, and I think that if I can bridge that type of gap, that will hopefully start up more grassroots soccer communities, or just communities in general, just educating people. And that's what they need. On top of that, reaching kids, this is the way to do it. If you want to impact the generation that's coming behind you, you need to get on social media and have the brain to talk about something other than what they are seeing, because I think that this career as an athlete, it's obviously very, very hard, but I still think that there are so many athletic people that still need to see that it is a possibility to get somewhere. And again, yes, I was blessed for a good majority of the time that I was growing up, but I was not as blessed as some of the girls that get to play at this point. They have parents throwing money at college coaches, or they'll do anything to get their kids to go anywhere. And even I experienced that. It wasn't the worst situation, of course, but still, I want to show people that you can come from literally anything. I didn't know how to play soccer. I didn't have a dad that played soccer. I didn't have an older brother that showed me how to play soccer. Again, I had my best friends, but I had to make my dad drop me off these places. I had to find a way, and a way was found, and I am here now. And even through an ACL injury, especially at the worst point of any woman's career, that's very rare that you see a woman go through ACL surgery after college and then still go to make it pro. And then ACL injuries are usually career ending. At the time it was happening. So
either career ending or you don't come back the same person that you were
Yes.
pre. Yeah.
So there's just a bunch that goes into it, and
Yeah.
I just want to reach more than just a girl that looks like me. I think that a woman's voice can still persuade, lead, and inspire men as well, no matter what sport you play, no matter what age. And on top of that, I want to reach parents so they can go with the information that I give them, so they can go and build, their child up for success on the field as well, because it's not something to overlook. Like I said, I got free college from it, and it's a pathway. It is something that should be invested in. And again, that starts with the example that I had of my dad, of someone that showed me consistency, commitment, and the pursuit of excellence just by bringing me to my trainings and never missing one of my games.
Yes,
So
it built characters. So yeah,
yes.
so it looks like if we bundled all that up, where then after that you played a little bit at Fort Lauderdale, um, and then after that you kind of transitioned to going all the way to Italy of all places. So can you tell us a little bit of that, experience first with Fort Lauderdale and how it helped you become, I guess, a professional player,
Yeah.
and then after that, how
So
was that switch?
hypothetically, in America, I missed 2 seasons with my ACL, so I missed the whole first season because the team that I went to was new. So I missed the whole first season of the NWSL, the year that I should have been drafted, and then so then I had to rehab and all those good things. I was able to get cleared around August, and then I found someone that helped me get to this small academy in Spain. Okay. And I was in Spain for 3 months. It was just an academy. I had to go there and take a Spanish class. So this is basically like school. And
Right.
oh my gosh, you would think that as a 23-year-old at this point chasing the game, you're like, are you going to ever stop? Like, it's obviously not going to happen. And I heard that from relatives or people that were around me, because again, that pathway doesn't seem like there's going to come, like there's not going to be much that comes out of that. But then I was able to get connected with a really good agent. Thank God. He was able to get me in with San Diego Wave, a small pre-trial to the upcoming season of the NWSL. So this was 2024. January 2024, I was able to go in and just do a small pre-trial with other collegiate athletes coming out of college looking to get drafted in the NWSL draft. Then the NWSL draft comes around, my draft rights get picked up by Portland Thorns, and so I was able to go into preseason with Portland Thorns. I only stayed for 2 weeks, and they released me, but again, I was in a room playing with Sophia Smith again, playing with Janine Becky, playing with these great players that are on the Canadian national team. And I'm like, this is so funny that it's coming full circle. And even though I didn't get the opportunity that I wanted and I was sad about it, now looking back, I'm so grateful that nothing came out of it, because I wasn't mentally prepared. My body wasn't prepared. I still had a lot of growing to do as a player. So the way that my life had planned out was perfect. So I got back home in March, and in March 2024, and I was so sad. I couldn't stay in Texas because it was an odd area. I didn't have anybody to train with. I didn't have a car because I had to, give my car away when I went to Spain, thinking that I was going to be in Spain for 6 months. So to come back early was really hard. And I was like, I'm just going to pick up and, leave for a week to go to New York to visit the same family that introduced me to soccer. I needed a break and I wanted to see them. So I went there and I was like, okay, I'm actually going to stay. I brought my cleats and I said, Dad, send me a couple of clothes. I have 3 good soccer training outfits already with me. Just send me a couple of more things and that's it. So when I moved to New York for 3 to 4 months, and I picked up a job at a gym in Manhattan. I did that so I could get a free gym membership. Okay, and it didn't take long. I was like, oh, thank good. I was finding a way.
Yes.
I ended up going to train with Brooklyn FC Two Bridges, which is the team. They had a U19 team, and soccer is so much easier because there's a better soccer culture in New York, and then there's this trains. I didn't have to worry about a car. I didn't have to worry about anything, and I had an aunt that lived in Astoria, the next train ride outside of Manhattan, and then I had family that introduced me to the game. They lived in Long Island. My cousin lived in Brooklyn. My whole family's up there. So on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, or Thursdays, I would stay in Astoria and go in the afternoon and train with the Brooklyn FC Two Bridges U19 team.
Mhm.
And then at 3:45 a.m., I have to, wake up, go to my job, open the gym, and I'm there until 11, sleeping. Then I'm waking up to go to training. And then from Thursday to Sunday, I would take the train to Long Island to stay with my other aunt. And that was where I was playing with men from Jamaica, in Jamaica, Queens. Like, those were grown men. And I was just going out there freshly, my knee's good, but the ground is tough and everything is super harsh. But I did what I needed to do, and I was just playing out there. So eventually the new league in America came, and it was starting in the summer, and it's called the USL, the Super League.
Super League, yep.
Yes. And because I was training with Brooklyn FC Two Bridges, that was where Brooklyn FC was coming from. So the coach at Brooklyn FC Two Bridges, he was the one that started to scout, and I was so beyond blessed and lucky to be able to just be in front of the new USL scout. So I'm just there playing around with the boys, and he goes, "Okay, well, we're starting to build this team up for the USL Super League. Come train with us." And I eventually I signed with Brooklyn FC first, but because they didn't have their front office stuff ready, they didn't send me a paperwork in time, which was allowing me to be able to talk to other coaches.
Right.
And my agent wanted to take me out of Brooklyn FC because at the time he just weren't prepared, and he didn't want to put me in a bad situation. I had a phone call. I don't know who was. I have speculation that the assistant coach, again, shout to assistant coaches, the assistant coach at Portland Thorns made a call for me to the Fort Lauderdale United coach. And somehow I got connected. My agent was able to get me a contract, and that was how I was able to get onto my first professional team. But again, there were so many ups and downs. Obviously, you could tell that there were probably a lot of days where I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work out. But I never really thought that to myself. I kind of just always kept faith that it would happen, and it did. It turned out the way that it needed to. So I moved to Fort Lauderdale last summer in 2024, and I did the whole year at Fort Lauderdale. I went in as a left back, but my coach didn't see me as a left back. He was like, "You're a center back." So halfway through the season, I had to change positions, wasn't starting anymore. And I was learning something new, battling against girls that were NWSL potential or were drafted and released from the NWSL who've been playing center back for their whole entire life. So I had to quickly pick it up. And again, shout out to another assistant coach. He was actually our goalkeeper coach. He was a goalkeeper coach for Houston Dash, and he moved to Fort Lauderdale halfway through his season because he was friends with Tyrone, our head coach. And he basically taught me how to play center back. Okay, a goalkeeper coach taught me how to play center back. He yelled at me a lot, but he taught me what I needed to know. And by the end of the season, I earned my starting spot as center back, and we were able to get to the finals of the Super League, and I played in the finals of the first inaugural year of the Super League. No. We lost to Tampa Bay, but because I was doing so well at center back, my head coach now at Napoli, he saw my film from Texas. I honestly still don't know if he knew I tore my ACL or if he knows any of that stuff because he speaks Italian, so he doesn't understand anything of the things that I get online and talk about.
It kind of worked out, then.
Yeah, he saw a little bit of me playing center back at Fort Lauderdale, and he's like, "Yeah, just come on over." And here I am. I was so blessed to just be able to be put in situations where eyes were on me, and that's how I got to the Serie A.
Excellent. So before we talk about the whole experience on there, and in a lot of my other podcasts, I've mentioned that soccer is, even though it's an international sport, we're in such a small community that there's always someone that we know that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone. And that the character that you've shown us, that you've built throughout, from Grassroots all the way to your ACL, and then playing with grown men, kind of showed your character where coaches and assistant coaches were actually putting their name to recommend you. So it really show,
Yes.
how your progression has show the hard work, some easy, some not so easy time. But then someone from Portland was able to make a phone call, and then you have another coach. So it certainly shows still that no matter where we are in the world in soccer, if you put the right work in, someone is
Yep.
willing to put in, which took you from Ground Rock, Texas, all the way to Napoli in Italy, which there's
Yes.
not many people that can talk about that type of story. So, what was that moment where you played in the final, pretty much, where you've seen all of that, working six jobs, playing with men, boys, tore ACL, and now you find yourself in 2024 playing in the final in the inaugural Super League final. How was that experience, especially with
It was
all that you've
good,
been through?
but let me tell you, I was already signing my contract to come to Italy. So I was like,
Well, but at
I
least you
did
know
my
that.
job here. I didn't
Yeah.
have the best experience at Fort Lauderdale United with our head coach, I think, or just the coaching staff in general. But it's what I needed. And thank God that God had interrupted my plans and interrupted my feelings to put me in a new position so I could learn and then become a better player for it. I'm not going to argue with the decisions that were made. I just knew I needed to show up and do the best that I can because I wanted to take this sport to the highest level that I can. And so by the time that final came around, my agent was like, yeah, it was maybe 5 games before the final where I already knew I was going to Italy. I just kept it to my chest and I'm like,
Yes.
I'm gone. Like I'm going to the Serie A, which is such a step up from where I was. And for me, it was such an accomplishment just to get through everything that I did within that 1 year, and then to be a player picked out of everybody to go to the Serie A. When some of the time, some of these games, I wasn't traveling with the team. Like my coach didn't really. I was just an extra piece of the puzzle for him. I didn't fit his system, not his system. He didn't mesh with me as a player, and sometimes that happens,
Yeah.
but it just goes to show that one coach's quote unquote trash is another person's treasure. And that's what it was. And for me to be able to take this step and walk away from the USL Super League and to go to one of the top 5 leagues in the world is I'm not going to argue with you. Like
No,
we're
no.
good.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
good. Like, thank you. you know?
Yes, and yeah, and I think it's always in those situations where you see players, play with one coach or one system, not having the best performance, and then after that going somewhere else and have a world class performance. So it's, I
Yep.
guess, unfortunately, the part of professional. I will say just sports in general, where not everything is roses, and
Yes.
so. Yes, so then jumping into from a final to now you find yourself in Naples, Italy. Um, as you know, anyone that plays soccer, the first thing if they want to be professional, they say, "I want to go to Europe." Some usually their Europe is either maybe not so known leagues,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you go straight from Fort Lauderdale to Serie A, and then
Yeah.
not just in one Italian. We're talking Napoli, where Maradona built. So,
Yep.
how was that transition to where you are now?
My agent brought me the Napoli deal, and I'm like, I don't know where this is at. Where are you trying to send me? I don't know. Again, that just goes to show how uneducated I've been.
Yeah.
I really am the type of person to show up and try to get anything that I could, and I did. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. If he says go to this place, let me just go.
Right.
So I came here, and the culture is amazing. People actually support female soccer players. It's something to experience. And then on top of all of that, my head coach used to coach, or not used to. Last year, he was coaching men in the Serie B. He was a
Yeah.
level from the
Yeah.
Serie A. I've had the most amazing man that could come and coach me, and honestly, step down from a soccer god who's probably Pep Guardiola's, twin brother is what he really is, and I
Oh,
know he
I'm
loves
gonna have to
that man.
research
But
it.
like,
So I
I've
guess
had
he's bald.
yes, he is,
Oh,
and I know that he loves Pep too. He
okay.
loves. I don't speak Italian, but from what I can gather, I read the book that my coach wrote. I know that he is a soccer head through and through, and to be able to be placed in the hands of a man that wants to see his players be the best that they can be, and then he's teaching me male tactics, and I'm seeing the lens through the male's point of view, which obviously is more fluid. It's more artful. It's there's more to the game. It's thought through. It's like there is something to accomplish when you put anything out on that field, especially from his eye. And he's a little older, so he's had all the experience in the world. And man, he is definitely not everybody's cup of tea. Let me tell you what. Some
you're
girls
on a
can.
pro level now. So
Some girls can. I'm sure some of the boys would not be able to handle him on his last team. He will give you a run for his money, but he's exactly what I needed. Someone that was pushing me to and does push me to my limits, and I could not be more grateful for this man. Truly.
Yeah. So what would you say it's and we know that, there's a big gap on like skills level. So with just that time, how much do you think you had to adapt? And what was it one thing that you had like, oh, I have to kind of step that level up to be able to match with those girls?
It was a lot. It wasn't technically I could hang. I think technically I can hang with the best at any level. Now it's tactical. Again, I missed 2 years of my soccer career due to injury, and then a third year because my coach, just needed players, and they just needed to start a league. So we were just starting a club. It wasn't like we had someone that was truly invested in the growth and the development of kids, of us girls. So this is 3 years of me, not really learning, just kind of floating around. So when I got here, he's like, "You don't know how to play soccer." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. I don't. You're right. You can yell at me all day about me not knowing tactics." So it would have been really hard for anybody else because he just screams at you in Italian. But I really, truly wanted to know. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn from someone that had experience. And I took any type of yelling, criticism, anything that he had to say, I'm just going to do it as best as I can, and I will correct it. You don't have to tell me twice, sir. I also don't want to hear him scream at me in Italian. So it's like, yeah, one time is enough. Like, you do not have to tell me 2 times. I will get it right the next time. And that's just how I carried myself from here on out because, again, I want to be playing with the best. And thank goodness for my head coach. His name is David Cesarian, by the way. He's amazing.
We're gonna have to put that picture up. So especially now you mentioned the language, right? I'm familiar enough because my dad also taught Italian, so I can kind of hear a little bit of it. But so for you, now that you have a coach, so I'm sure when he's giving instructions, it's the speed Italian. So how do you are you doing the soccer football language and then kind of
no,
Italian?
But I can understand it for sure. Okay. But half the time he was cussing. I didn't know. Okay, so
yeah,
he'll cuss at us in Italian, and then he'll have my assistant coach translate it.
Oh, poor people.
She'll just translate it in English, and she's like, "Okay, just do this," I still try not to understand what the Italian cuss words are because the less I know, the better. Like, you could just give me the English translation of what I need to work on, and we'll just go with that,
So that means, attackers and midfielders can curse all they want. They will not get into your head because you have no clue what they're saying.
Nope.
That works. So I guess God bless your assistant coaches because they have to translate that, which... Again, assistant coach have a lot more than just hold the clip and hold sessions.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and then after that, the other part. So, how was your first game? Like that experience of like, okay, now that's Serie A Femines. This is top of the top.
It was Lazio. We had a preseason game against Ternana and Lazio. Huh? Yeah. We had a preseason game against Lazio and Ternana. Those are fine for some reason, but our first real game, and we did lose like maybe 2-1 or something. I was like, oh my gosh. But I called my dad. I was so nervous before the day. It was more of the phone calls. I was like, if I was at home, I'm like, Dad, you need to come get me. I don't know if I'm cut out. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I might get run. Like, I do not know. I played a good game. It was a good first start. I was playing against one of the national team forwards.
Well, of
She's
course.
old and grown, and she knows how to play this game. And I had a good game against her, and I was like, okay. It's okay. Like, you're doing good. And so far, I've been doing pretty well by my standards against some of the top teams in Europe. So I'm really proud of myself from as far as I've came. And I know that maybe I'm in the middle of it right now, and it might take me a couple of years to be like, you need to look back and you need to be so proud of how far you've come. Right now, I can't sit there and give myself that pat on the back because there's so much more work to be done. But yeah, I was really scared. Let me just say I wasn't intimidated. I was just scared. I was just scared that I might not be enough, and I proved myself wrong in that first game, and I continue to prove myself wrong every single day. So it's just
Absolutely.
how it is.
I would say if any athletes of any sports go into a game or a battle, anything, and they're not a little bit scared, then I think maybe it's wrong because it might not end up too well for those. So
Yes.
yes, scared is good. Intimidated is a whole nother. But and so with the whole Italian culture, so how were you able to adapt? I saw, some of your posts. You were enjoying the New Year with friends. So,
Oh man.
like experience Italian. How was that?
Yes, it's so great because these people down here do know how to speak a little bit of English, and I can get by with a little bit of Italian that I know. But there is a coffee shop that is 30 seconds from my front door. I go there almost every single morning. So I'm a familiar face there, and every day they see me. I love them. We Google Translate pretty much every conversation, but because the soccer culture is so big, they follow my games, and they always are rooting for me and supporting me. So the two boys that make my coffees in the morning said, "Hey, come and eat family dinner with us for New Year's," and that's where I was able to go. It was amazing. I'm just again so blessed and grateful to be someone that's willing to immerse themselves in culture because that's very important, but then again to have reciprocation on the other side of people just having their arms open and ready to love and ready to make me feel like family.
Yeah, well, of all the places you picked to go in Europe, I think Italy is a very good, friendly country to
Yes.
join. So I think that was also a plus. So knowing that you are now, across on the other world, so how do you keep up with family? How do you, keep them up to date to share your experience with them?
I think from everything that I've went through, I just became a very independent person. So my dad definitely gets a call before or after every single game. And I try to call my mom as much as I can, but honestly, it gets to maybe once or twice a week. And it's not because I don't love them, but it's because I'm living my dream that I've worked tirelessly for, and I'm just enjoying the fruits of my labor, my own space, my own apartment, literally all the little things that I've been blessed with. So I love them, and they see on TikTok, which is another reason why I do what I do, so they can see it for themselves as well. They stay checked in with me, and I
I'm
call
sure
them
they
as,
are.
as much as I can.
Yes, awesome. So yes, so as we come closer to conclude this, so going from Texas, there's always that picture, American playing soccer, so that there's that stigma, and then also now there's a black girl that's also playing, in Italy. So now you have all that representations that you're showing the rest of the world, especially Serie A feminists. So for a say 14-year-old girl that's looking to be a professional soccer player, what would be their advice to them? And from your lessons.
My advice is be to stay true to yourself, because the only way that you can get somewhere if you're being yourself and being genuinely you. But at the same time, there are so many people that know more than you, and that there's so much more to learn than what you were taught. And I think that if you want to get your name in any room and your foot through any door, it is to be as welcoming, kind, understanding, loving, patient, and willing to some extent to show up for those around you and put other people first. And then take what you can from what is given to you in the best way possible. I think that is the best way to succeed. That's probably the only way to succeed, especially as a Black girl who has to work probably 3 to 4 times harder than the normal soccer player to get to anywhere they want to go.
Excellent. So yes, so I think, and so for just more the general public, right? How would you want to have people follow, Napoli, which is who you support? What is one fun thing that you would like to share about, Napoli and that group of girls that you play with?
I think what's fun is that we are one of the 2 teams that aren't connected to the men's side of the Serie A. So
a quick fire questions for you, which is kind of the fun one, and then we'll just clip that up. So
Okay.
The first one is Texas or Naples, who wins and why?
This is really hard. Obviously, Texas is home. I wouldn't want to live in Naples forever, but there is the beach, guys. I'm a big beach girl. There's the city that is very similar to Brooklyn in a sense, and then there's the people, and then there's Amalfi Coast, and I'm in Europe, but I still love Texas. I can't say one or the other, but I guess Italy could win in this round.
They could win. All right. Well. So who would be the toughest opponent that you've faced so far?
Everybody would probably think it's Roma and Juventus. I think that for me, they have good all-around teams, but they haven't been the hardest team that I've had to play. I would still say it's Lazio because they have the best attacking players. So it's the hardest game for me, and it's the hardest game for our back line. Other than that, we've dropped a couple of points against other teams that honestly I think we should have beaten. So, and we have not beaten Lazio yet. We played them 4 times. Okay. We only beat them in preseason. So that's the only person that is a thorn in my side, and I hope that we can beat them. But I really do like the way that at least their front line works, and that's a hard team to defend, especially when you have to defend as a unit and a back 4. I think they've given us the most trouble. So,
all right, so that means we just have to mark on our calendar next time you guys play. We have to do a watch along for that one to see what happens.
Yes.
Excellent. So, and then finish this sentence. Football has given me
a life, love, happiness. I think football has given me life, and it's a life that I can share with others. And I think that that is one of the main goals that I have for myself, just to share my experience, pass it along, and make sure that what I get to have and to hold is steward properly for the people that are coming after me. So, yes.
Excellent. Love that. So, yes, so Cameron, that was an excellent, awesome interview, pretty much from Ground Rock, Texas, all the way to Naples, Italy, and all in between, from rejections to our ACL to COVID, of course.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You still find yourself to a position to play in Serie A Feminities, which is the top of top, pretty much. And always appreciate people sharing their experience, and we'll make sure that we let everyone know how they can get a hold of you, especially on TikTok, to make sure that we just smash that follow button. So
yes, thank you so much.
Yes, and hopefully once you're in the States, World Cup is coming very soon. So
yes,
hopefully you get to enjoy some of that, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, of course. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So I guess maybe Napoli might be my Italian team now. So
Yeah,
we'll go from there.
for sure.
Excellent. So yes. So how can they follow you? Can you share your TikTok handle with everyone?
Yeah, it's just at This Is Cam's Corner.
Okay, nice. Excellent. As always, thank you all for your time, and we'll get back to you very soon.
Thank you.